Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. News and views on Salam Media. It is exactly 8:34 a.m. and I am truly, truly, truly very excited and very hopeful with our next interview with Johan Kruger, Head of Community Sustainability at AfriForum. Now, AfriForum are saying that they want to start their own power company and save South Africans from the lords of darkness, and that, of course, is Eskom. AfriForum has gone on to say that that Eskom will be unable to provide electricity for South Africa in the future. I think we all know that, and they are soon, very soon, going to have a very strong competitor, and that is none other than AfriForum. Johan Kruger, Head of Community Sustainability at AfriForum, a very good morning to you. A very warm welcome to the program this morning. I am, after all of this darkness, feeling very, very hopeful. Talk to us about the plans going forward.
Thank you very much, Julie. Yeah, we're keenly aware of the ambition, of this project. But, we put our hands up to say, how can we be part of a solution? I think we've all been suffering, like you said. So since July last year and building up to November last year, where we had a energy indaba, we've been working with a number of teams to say how can we basically initially play a facilitation role to bring together knowledge, know-how, capital, and the opportunities that exist in the private sector. So we're basically looking at three broad phases of this project. Firstly, in the first phase, what can we do immediately to assist, and we will be trying to play our part in facilitating knowledge, getting the right suppliers with regards to solar, with individuals, with communities, with our members, and ensuring that they're knowledgeable on what it is that they can do themselves with regards to solar installation, etc. How can we assist with finance options, etc. So there is a first facilitation stage, just to help people to do what they can now, to start, getting more independent from Eskom. A second step to that phase is to assist communities, towns, even cities with the development of a blueprint to be able to mobilize with putting pressure on Eskom and government to say, here are the options that are available. They're already successful, they're working, and we will be developing that blueprint. But then we in the second phase, we will be looking at working with our partners, rural maintenance company that have successfully have taken Mafube Municipal Council basically off the grid. So they've basically taken over the whole energy value chain, and their model is working. They are getting the money in, paying Eskom and the municipality, and providing sustainable power. So that model must be duplicated as soon as possible. And in that phase, we're also looking at players in the wind generation and gas generation that are standing ready to basically contribute to the energy mix. So they will be working with this energy company. And then in the final phase, which is a bit more in the longer term, is pebble bed nuclear technology. So we have been working closely with C5 Capital, is a venture capitalist company in the USA, headed by a South African, Andre Pinar, and he's investing in this new power company, and he's also a big investor in X Energy, which is a company based in the USA that are working on pebble bed nuclear reactors. They're about the size of a truck, and they can give a small town or a small city power for 40 years. So it sounds very ambitious, but the first one has been approved by the USA regulator. So that's a bit on the long term, but we must play our part in bringing this mix of energy to all communities and individuals, to get as independent from Eskom as possible.
Okay, so Johan, I am intrigued by the pebble bed reactor power stations. You are saying that's a long-term solution. What we'd like to look at is where else in the world is it being utilized? Let's look at costings as well. Is it truly feasible? Is it going to be on par with what we're paying for electricity currently to Eskom? Is it going to be a cheap alternative? Is it going to be a little more costly? So all of those questions need to be unpacked. You also spoke about that little town in Frankfurt. How did that come about as well? Why did they, they seem to have the success story, which we're not hearing much about, and that success story needs to be replicated throughout the country. What is their solution? Obviously, it's not pebble bed reactors at the moment. It is a mix of other energy sources. So lots for you to unpack on the show right now.
Thank you, Julie. Let me start with your last question. The Frankfurt story is very, very interesting. So there was a municipal manager a couple of years ago that had the insight to say, well, we must get a private role player in, which was rural maintenance. They've been working in this field for a couple of decades. And there was an agreement signed by this municipality that rural can provide energy, distribute energy, and manage the finances.
Okay, I'm losing your voice there. I don't know. All right. You're
Is
better
that
now.
better?
Thank you. Yes,
Thank
loud
you.
and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. So there was a 25-year agreement signed, and rural simply came in, put up solar farms, distribution networks, and they've basically taken over the whole network on behalf of the municipality. So it's a private sector solution that's working. The money is coming in. Eskom is being paid for, obviously for usage of the network, etc. The municipality even gets their part. So there's, and that's only one example of the many solutions that are available in the private sector. So rural is standing ready to duplicate this model. As you said, they are talking with other municipalities countrywide. We see in the Western Cape there's a lot more appetite for private role players to contribute to the grid, etc. But we see that many municipalities basically don't have the political will to start implementing these sort of solutions. And investors, private sectors is standing ready. We had a good meeting with rural yesterday, and they're basically waiting for the opportunities to start talks elsewhere. So that is an immediate solution that is feasible and is already working. With regards to your the question of the nuclear, so that is a space that's developing. Like I said, the US regulator, nuclear regulator, recently approved the first of those pebble bed nuclear reactors. They're about as big as, like I said, they can fit on a truck. That one was approved for 50 megawatt, so it's relatively small, but obviously one needs to put up as many as possible. So it is expensive technology at this stage, but it's safe. Therefore, it was approved by the US regulator, and so that so the horizon is about 4 to 5 years for delivery of that those units to. Well, it can be delivered to South Africa through our partners, C5 Capital. So very exciting. Yes, it will be expensive for the investors, but the aim is to, obviously, have competitive prices relative to Eskom and as cheap as possible. So definitely the aim is not to be more expensive than Eskom. I think that's part of the problem, and we know of the recent increases that NERSA approved. So it is still a new ground, but we're very very excited, and it's not a pie in the sky. It's being done as we speak, um, and 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 the exciting thing is that it can come to South Africa. We have very knowledgeable individuals and companies in South Africa that have worked on nuclear even before 1994. And we're also looking at the possibility of also duplicating the development that's being done in the USA here in South Africa, with the know-how that we have here. Nice to hear that South African guys that are nuclear experts are working for that company X Energy, and they're
Wow.
at the head of developing this technology.
Okay, you did indicate that when it does come into the country in probably 5 years' time, so it's a 5-year plan,
Yes.
obviously, that it will be price competitive with Eskom. So the big question is what happens in that 5 years? In the meantime, how are we going to survive? I
Mm.
should also imagine there are going to be challenges around there. It's going to be funding. The other question is because we're going to be importing it from the US, is it going to impact on jobs here in South Africa? The idea is to provide energy, but also create jobs as well in the process. So, can you guys work around a model like that? And last but not least, what about government's role in this whole issue? I'm thinking about legislation. Are they
Mm.
going to tie your hands? Because they're not going to be able to get their hands on the money. So,
Very, yeah, very good question. Let me start with the last one again. The regulatory framework, obviously, we know is quite cumbersome and stringent, and there's a monopoly of government again on nuclear generation. So that remains an obstacle. So, but we think that with pressure and with the groundswell that we're seeing in many communities throughout South Africa, the ANC can no longer disregard private sector solutions. They simply with their back against the wall, and that's why we saw the 100 megawatt ceiling that was announced last year. We also see in today's news, President Ramaphosa saying we must look at opening up, cutting the red tape, etc. So I think that they will now have they will have no option and to start looking at deregulating the nuclear landscape as well. Although it remains an uphill battle, but we'll mobilize also with campaigns and litigation, etc. With regards to finance and jobs, this these solutions that we hope to add to the mix, is aimed at providing energy, and we know with energy comes economic growth, jobs, etc. So the aim is not to impact on South African jobs. In fact, it's actually the opposite. The technology comes here, but South Africans must benefit from it, must work on these on these projects, and we also hear that from our USA partners. Their aim is not to impact on that at all. In fact, to contribute. So that we hope to achieve, and then finance. Yes, that remains a big step, but. Like I said, the first investor is C5 Capital, very strong specialist venture capital firm working internationally. For example, on SpaceX, they're also working with Elon Musk on that ambitious project. So, and in recent days and months, we've heard of other investors that are willing to start to invest in these sort of projects because of, well, the need for it, but also the opportunity. And I think the hope that we hope to also bring with this is that there is hope. We must, as South Africans, kick our heels in and do what we can. And we're a resilient bunch, and
absolutely.
we're here to stay. So let's try our
Absolutely.
best.
Absolutely. Okay, that's we're going to have to leave it. Undoubtedly, we're going to have many, many more discussions in the days and years ahead to the build-up of seeing these pebble bed reactor power stations coming into the country and putting an end to all of our problems. Johan Kruger, thank you indeed for your time. Johan obviously is head of community sustainability at AfriForum. And like I said, many more discussions to be had in the future. Go well.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
It is exactly 8:49. News and views right here on Salam Media. We're going for an ad break, and when we get back, we are going to be joined by Appa Sarah Madaran. She runs a boys' home in Maritzburg, the west of Johannesburg, and let's hear how we as a community can assist and make this place more of a home for those destitute boys, inshallah.